Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well, then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. So I just had the pleasure of having lunch with one of what I consider most successful clients. And in talking with her, I realized there are certain aspects of clients that I've seen that are the most successful. And that's, subjectively defined, right? Success is very subjective. But I would say some of the clients who have experienced the most success in the form of whether it be financial gain, growth of their business, or simply just enjoyment of their business and accomplishment of their goals, whatever they may be, those who are finding success in that regard have a very common set of traits that I've noticed. And I wanted to share with you some of my observations that I've had on the clients that I've seen both thrive and also those who have failed, which I hate saying they failed, but those who have made costly mistakes, I should say. So the common traits I see among some of my most successful clients, and this being one of them, after just getting back from lunch with her, I realized how important it is to share this with you because we don't appreciate enough, I think, the input of seeing other businesses, other business owners. I think as a fractional CFO, I'm in a unique position where I work with about a dozen different businesses, and I see mistakes every single day of all different varieties. I also see wins every single day of all different varieties. And in a way, I'm growing my business experience 12-fold because I'm involved in all of these different businesses and I'm just learning rapidly. And what I'm noticing is a couple of common patterns. One is that some of the most successful clients, the way I would define it is the number one thing is just fast action. I think no single one of my clients who is thriving right now in their business ever mull over a small decision. All the small decisions are handled by specialists. And in fact, if you don't follow Cody Sanchez, she's wonderful. But Cody posted this video, which I was just reminded of, where she talks about, show me how long it takes you to order at a counter, and I'll show you your bank account. And what she meant by that, when she elaborated, was that if you dwell on small decisions, like if it takes you forever to order at a counter, you're not typically a successful business owner because being really successful, or we'll say having attributes that are attractive in that way, really is designed around your ability to make fast decisions and to be decisive. And I think that one of my strengths as a founder that I kind of realized through the experience of business ownership has been that I am really quick to make decisions, but I'm also really okay with being wrong. So I think that coupling is key, where you're willing to take fast action and make a decision based on all the inputs you have, being okay with not having all of the information to find the right answer and being able to take, we'll say, an educated guess at what the right answer is, but also being willing to be humble enough and say, I really don't know what I'm doing, but this feels like the best thing right now. And that's what I think we should do to move forward, just so that we can move forward and be progressing. And you may disagree with me, but I'm of the belief that, being stagnant is worse than walking a couple steps in the wrong direction. Because if you're stagnant, if you think about this and you're trying to find your way, especially in New York City, this is a great metaphor. So in New York, I was constantly struggling when I first got there, when I was living there for a little bit, working. I was constantly struggling with what direction did the numbers go, up, down, left, right? How does it work? Of course, I know it now, but when I was new, I would get out of Penn Station and I'm like, do I go left or do I go right? And instead of sitting there and studying my freaking map or my Google Maps, I would just start walking to the nearest block and then figure out what direction I was going in. And by starting to move, by initiating momentum and movement, I was able to get my answer faster, because even if I was going in the wrong direction, I got my answer faster. And instead of staying still which would not progress me at all, I was taking the chance of, hey, I'm going to make progress. I'm going to move my body, and I'm either going in the right direction or the wrong direction. But if I'm going in the wrong direction, gives me the answer just as fast as if I had studied the map. And if I'm in the right direction, head start. So my philosophy on action taking has always been one of take action and pivot quickly and absorb that feedback and constantly be learning and iterating based on what's working and what isn't. Always be moving instead of stagnating, studying for too long, and being overly analytical. I think there's time and place for analytical mindset, but I think that as a founder, there is a ton of value in just being willing to go do the thing, get embarrassed, go try something, go fail at it, go, have your first draft be kind of shitty, but just knowing you put it out there. So that's number one. Number two is, I would say, clarity in what it is their goals are. One of the most attractive things about a business owner is the fact that they know what they want. So they know what good looks like at the end of the day. They may not necessarily know the KPIs to get there, and they may not necessarily understand how to measure those things or how they show up in a day-to-day basis, but they do know generally what they're trying to accomplish and what the finish line looks like. So for example, I met with a business owner a few weeks ago, and he said, my goal is to exit between 3 and 5 years from now, and I want to get a valuation of roughly between X and Y, and that would make me feel good. And I want to strike a deal with a potential buyer where I have an earnout or I have some type of consulting arrangement and I have cash flow ongoing for a couple of years until I figure out my next move. And I'm like, that is so ridiculously clear that I'm like, okay, great. I have a clear vision of what you want, when you want to do it. And it's kind of like those SMART goals, right? But in my mind, it's more about having a clear vision of what you want your life to look like 3 to 5 years from now. That gives us really concrete a path to pave to know how to get to that destination. So we can also talk about what's realistic, what isn't. We can talk about, hey, now everything we do is going to anchor back to that. So if you want to go, indulge in a distraction, if you will, then what I'm going to do is say, hey, remember that goal you told me about to exit between 3 and 5 years from now? That's going to set us back a few months if you take that thing or you do that thing or you invest in that thing. And when you can connect it back to that ultimate goal, this is key, right? Because that now somebody is connecting it to something very real to them and setting it back. It's almost like saying, hey, that muffin you had from breakfast is going to set you back in your weight loss journey by a day. I know it's not literal, but it's something like that where it's like, hey, that's a micro decision you're making that's going to affect the macro outcome. But I know what that macro goal is. And so I'm willing to say, hey, is this contributing to it or not? But clarity of your goals is so important. And although I can relate to you if you're really struggling with figuring out what that goal looks like, I think that even if you have a goal of what your next step is, right? So if you know the immediate constraint in your business and you know, hey, my next move, like I'm trying to grow this business and define what that goal is. And I don't know if I want to exit or grow. I don't know what my future holds. That's fine. But maybe your next goal is simply, hey, I want to hire 2 more people and I want to get out of the day-to-day. Okay, great. That's a great goal. So it doesn't have to be as macro level and as, big as planning your exit or deciding if you want to keep or sell the business. That's a very big decision. But clarity of goals, meaning like, this is the next move I want to make, or this is the next phase I want to enter into. How can I do that? And charting the course to get to that destination. So that's really something I notice with successful clients is they're really clear about where they're going, as opposed to, for example, if I say, hey, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years in your business? Like, where do you want to be? And they say, I have no idea. Or they say, probably doing the same thing I'm doing today. It's like not a good sign because I want to know that they're hungry for something, that they're chasing something, and that we can help them do that and get there. Okay.
Hey, Shannon here, and I have a quick favor to ask. If you're enjoying this podcast and enjoying this episode, please leave us a review on your podcast platform, whether that's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, any of them, and let us know if you're enjoying the show. One of your biggest takeaways, we would really, really appreciate it. Okay, back to the show.
And lastly, I would say the number one trait, I would say the number one, this is my third one, but I think this is the most important. We talk about fast action, we talk about clarity. This one is focus. And this is something I definitely did not appreciate enough until about a year ago. I understood conceptually. I knew that people had to stay focused. I knew that focus and discipline was key. But I think it really manifested itself in my own business, and I started to really start paying more attention to how it affected my clients too. And I've noticed that my most successful clients, again, subjectively defined, have been able to remain focused. And by that, I mean undistracted. So it's kind of like focus by me means how many things you're willing to say no to in the pursuit of the thing that you want. So focus is really about narrowing your focus, your vision into, okay, I want this one thing. So I'm willing to do what I need to do to get that. So it's focus of goals, yes, but it's also focus of your efforts. So here's an example. We actually here at Keep What You Earn, the first like 3.5 to 4 years of the business, we did a lot of stuff. We scattered a lot of things. We tried a lot of different tools for marketing. We tried a lot of different, types of clients. We tried a lot of different services. We wanted to serve more people. And what I learned through doing all of that, which was immensely valuable, is you really find a lot of peace, mostly, a lot of gratitude, a lot of financial gain, honestly, in focusing your attentions and simplifying, but being willing to say no to like other opportunities, because I've been presented with a lot of opportunities that could potentially be lucrative, but I've said no to a few things because I have faith that what I'm building in my CFO practice is something of value and that it needs my full attention and focus in order to be successful. And therefore, I can't take on additional distractions right now. And it's hard to say no because there's a lot of really cool opportunities. But the problem is that by saying yes to distractions, you're deferring out the accomplishment of the thing you're trying to do. And on top of that, when you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. And that's something that Rory Vaden always said when I was in Brand Builders Group. I heard that a lot, which is like diluted focus gets diluted results. And he couldn't be more right. In this case, he was speaking about brand and messaging. But if you're not focused on key initiatives, you're not focused on solving the big problems, and you're not focused on the constraint that you need to be focused on, then this can be a huge, huge impact to your business because it's going to set you back years, because you're going to be moving an inch forward in 10 different areas instead of 10 inches forward in one. So by spreading out your focus, you're not going to be able to accomplish what you want as quickly as you can, and definitely not with the same quality. Because what's the quote? I'm going to misquote it, but businesses typically suffer from indigestion, not starvation. And I forget who said that, but I thought that was brilliant because it's not a question of like there's not enough to do or not enough money or not enough of sales. It's a question of what are you doing with all of that that comes in? Are you scattering it too much? Are you not planting it in fertile ground, right? Are you investing in things and then it's just not producing results? Are you scattering your focus too much? Here's how it showed up for me. We did text message marketing. We did email marketing. We also tried to do course offerings. We did the membership. We've done a variety of different things in ways to get people to enter into our ecosystem. And this past year plus, we've really just kind of like burned all of it. I'm going to be honest with you. If you've been listening to the show for a while, we talked about a lot of different offers at different points in the year. And what I've come to realize is by simply focusing on our signature service, the thing that I think enables most business owners to be successful, by simply focusing on that, we were able to double our revenue by eliminating distraction. It does work. I'm not kidding. I'm really not kidding. And especially seeing it in my own business. I think I believed this fundamentally, like conceptually, but I think seeing it in my own business really put the nail in the coffin for me. So I'm advising our clients too on ways to simplify. And I think the clients that I admire the most have never tried to do something that was, kind of an offshoot. Like they didn't try to branch out too soon. Even my most successful clients still stick to their core signature offer and just do it better, more refined, more pivots, more tweaks, more tuning of the thing that's working, as opposed to creating something brand new that may or may not work. And although that can be exciting, it's kind of like a shiny object syndrome. It can be exciting, but it can also be a huge distraction. So my best recommendation is if you are falling victim of like a lack of clarity, a lack of focus, a lack of action, then this is going to basically pull an e-brake on your business's growth between these three things. And what I would recommend that you do is you increase accountability on yourself by having somebody on your team or hire someone on your team to essentially hold you accountable to housing all your new grand ideas and distractions into one place that you pull from periodically and you discuss as a team. So give you an outlet. I do this too, by the way, because I have ideas out the wazoo, but my team gives me a place to go dump those ideas, and then we pull them up and talk about them as a team periodically, as a team can slowly implement things. And we decide consciously, in kind of a sober state, what we want to actually grow and what we want to implement. The other thing is, if you're lacking action, then I recommend some type of task management system. I recommend some type of breakdown of these things that may be overwhelming to you and overly complex into simple problems. If you don't follow Dan Martell, he has this 1-3-1 method, which is like identify the one problem, 3 possible solutions, and then the one action that will get you to the next step, or the one recommendation that came out of those 3 solutions. Having structure to problem solving is key, because otherwise you'll just mull in the details forever if you get stuck in them. And then the other thing is, if you're lacking the clarity of your goals, then I would say you really want to take a good look at the conditions of your life now that you want to change. What will it take to get there? Who will you need to become to be in that position? What would have to change? And just have those like moments of just reflection, but also those moments of understanding that what is the growth that I desire, that I seek. And honestly, if you're really not clear on what your goals are, then what I recommend you do is you come up with the most like big, hairy, audacious goal that you can think of like, okay, if I were to 10x my business, and then I was asked, what do you want to do, right? What would I do? And if I were to, let's just say, most businesses, you're either going to close or pass on to, your next generation, or you're going to sell, you're going to transfer ownership, right? So typically, kind of like think about real estate, right? The best thing you can do is, if you're not sure if you want to exit a business, is to act like you want to exit a business. Is to build a business that is valuable, build a business that's worth exiting. Because I'll tell you, if you build a house that's really marketable and you decorate it in the interior that looks really pleasing, and then you paint it beautiful colors, you probably want to live in the house. So even if you decide you don't want to exit, it's probably going to be a great place for you to be if you're building a cash flowing business. So when you're looking at clarity of goals, I think you also want to look at the conditions you're in now, add 10% of whatever it is, right? Sales, profit, whatever. So if you're just missing some clarity on that, then I think that's key. Is just having some type of even arbitrary thing that you can take action toward, just so that you're able to move in the right direction. I think that's really important. So if you're lacking any of those things, those are some of the recommendations I would make. But I would definitely say these are the 3 most common traits the most successful business owners I not only work with, but I think that I've seen out and about in the world, because these are things that will basically transcend any type of business, any size of business, and just make people strong founders overall.
As you think about growing and scaling your business, it's important to focus on how your operating costs align with your profit and personal goals. Are you allocating your resources wisely? Are your expenses supporting growth, or are they holding you back? Building a sustainable and profitable business takes intentional budgeting and regular assessments of where your money's actually going. Now, with a power session, you can get personalized strategies to help your businesses thrive. Check out the show notes for more information on power sessions and how we can work with you to create the profit plan your business needs for a successful 2025.